Imagine you're standing in an open field. The sky turns green. The air goes dead silent. And then a roar, like a freight train, grows from nothing to everything in seconds. A tornado is coming. And in this video, we're going to answer a question most people don't think to ask. What is actually happening to the human body in those moments? Not the drama, not the horror, the science. Tornadoes are among the most violent atmospheric phenomena on Earth. In the United States alone, roughly 1,200 tornadoes are recorded every year, killing an average of 70 to 100 people annually. But despite how common they are, most people have very little understanding of what makes them so lethal and what actually kills you if you're caught in one. So let's break it down, starting from the atmosphere itself. To understand what a tornado does to a human body, you first need to understand what a tornado actually is. Tornadoes form within a specific type of thunderstorm called a supercell. These storms develop when warm, moist air near the surface collides with cooler, drier air aloft. The difference in wind speed and direction at different altitudes, a phenomenon called wind shear, causes the air to begin rotating horizontally. When a powerful updraft tilts that rotating column of air vertically, you get a mesocyclone, a rotating column of air inside the storm that can be miles wide. If conditions are right, that rotation tightens and intensifies near the surface. The pressure inside the vortex drops dramatically, sometimes by 10% or more compared to the surrounding atmosphere. That pressure drop is what drives the violent inward and upward winds that define a tornado. On the enhanced Fujita scale, tornadoes are rated from EF0 to EF5 based on the damage they cause. An EF0 brings winds of 65 to 85 miles per hour, enough to snap branches and damage roofs. An EF5, the most violent category, produces winds exceeding 200 miles per hour. At those speeds, well-built homes are completely leveled. Reinforced concrete structures can be scoured clean. And anything, or anyone, caught in the open has almost no chance of survival. Now let's get to what you came for. What does a tornado actually do to a human body? If you are outside and directly in the path of a tornado, there are several forces working against you simultaneously. The first is raw wind pressure. At 100 miles per hour, wind exerts roughly 40 pounds of force per square foot on a flat surface. At 200 miles per hour, that figure quadruples to around 160 pounds per square foot. The human body, which has a frontal surface area of roughly 5 to 6 square feet, would experience thousands of pounds of lateral force. This is enough to throw a person dozens or even hundreds of feet through the air. But flying through the air isn't what kills most people. It's the landing and what's in the air with you. A tornado becomes a high-speed debris field almost immediately. Boards, glass, gravel, metal sheeting, and other projectiles are accelerated to extreme velocities. A 2x4 piece of lumber accelerated to 100 miles per hour carries the kinetic energy of a small car moving at 20 miles per hour. A small rock at those speeds can penetrate skin and bone. These projectiles are what cause the majority of tornado fatalities and severe injuries. There's also the question of pressure. As the tornado vortex passes directly over a person, the atmospheric pressure drops rapidly. This isn't like what you'd experience in an airplane. It's much faster and more extreme. Rapid decompression can cause air trapped in body cavities, the lungs, sinuses, and inner ears, to expand abruptly. Eardrums can rupture. In extreme cases, the pressure differential can cause air embolisms. However, researchers note that this effect, while real, is rarely the primary cause of death. It's the debris and the blunt trauma from being thrown that do the most damage. What about being inside a structure when a tornado hits? For most people caught in a tornado, being inside a building is the reality, and the survival outcome depends enormously on the construction of that building and where inside it you take shelter. When a powerful tornado strikes a house, the structure doesn't simply blow away. It fails in a sequence. First, the wind finds a gap, an open window, a cracked door, a vent, and positive pressure builds inside the house while negative pressure, essentially suction, acts on the exterior walls and roof. The roof is the most vulnerable element. Once the roof lifts, the walls lose their lateral support and the entire structure can collapse outward in seconds. For anyone inside, this creates a cascading environment of falling debris, structural collapse, and exposure to full wind forces. Standard wood frame homes provide minimal protection against an EF3 tornado or stronger. Brick homes are marginally better, but brick veneer, which is what most brick homes actually are, is just a decorative exterior over a wood frame. True protection requires reinforced concrete or steel construction or an underground shelter. The physics of sheltering underground are straightforward. A below-grade shelter removes you from the wind entirely. The earth acts as a buffer against debris impact. Even a basic storm cellar dramatically increases survivability in all but direct high-end EF4 and EF5 strikes. Now let's talk about what science tells us actually kills versus what people commonly believe. The number one myth about tornado deaths is that they're caused primarily by the pressure change, the sudden drop as the vortex passes. Some people even believe that opening windows to equalize pressure can save a house. Both of these ideas are wrong. Research consistently shows that blunt force trauma from debris is the leading cause of tornado fatalities. A study published in the American Journal of Epidemiology found that over 80% of tornado deaths involve head and neck injuries, almost entirely the result of flying or falling debris. Secondary causes include crush injuries from structural collapse and drowning in floodwater associated with severe storms. The window opening myth is not just wrong, it's actively dangerous. Every second you spend opening windows is a second you're not moving to shelter. And opening windows does nothing meaningful to equalize pressure during the rapid pressure change of a tornado passage. Another common misconception is the idea that highway overpasses provide shelter. Research has definitively shown they do not. Wind actually accelerates as it's funneled beneath an overpass, and there's no protection from debris. Multiple fatalities have occurred at overpasses as people mistakenly believed they were safe. So what does the science say about surviving a tornado? The data is actually quite clear. The single most effective action you can take is to get below ground. A basement or dedicated storm shelter, ideally with a sturdy covering over you, dramatically reduces the risk of fatal injury even in strong tornadoes. If underground shelter isn't available, an interior room on the lowest floor of a sturdy building, away from windows, under a staircase, or in a bathroom, provides meaningful protection. The mass of the surrounding structure absorbs the impact of debris and reduces exposure to the full force of the wind. Mobile homes are among the most dangerous places to be during a tornado, regardless of their tie-down systems. Research shows that mobile homes fail at wind speeds as low as 60 miles per hour, well within EF0 tornado territory. If you live in a mobile home and tornado warnings are issued, you need to leave and find a sturdy structure. Vehicles present a complex picture. Driving away from a tornado perpendicular to its path is a viable option if you have enough time and visibility to do so safely. But abandoning a car in an open field and lying flat in a low ditch is considered safer than sheltering in the vehicle if escape is impossible. Tornadoes are terrifying, but they are not mysterious. The physics of how they kill are well understood, and the science of how to survive them is well established. The key is knowing this information before the sky turns green, because once that freight train roar begins, the time for decisions has already passed. Stay informed. Know your shelter plan. And if you found this video useful, consider sharing it, because this is the kind of science that can genuinely save a life.